The Lord put in my heart to do a youth leadership conference during the summer after the 12 months or 9 months of doing the leadership classes with him. He told me who he wanted, what's the topic, and I thought that was it. That was during the summer. And then he picked up and said, okay, now I need you to do a recording with each one, and I'll give you a topic. So the topic with Dr. Michael Smith is conflict resolution. Conflict resolution is something that everybody deals with. It's to me, it should be taught in class because it's the conflict that people have a hard time overcoming. And sometimes you can grow under the conflict instead of growing from the conflict. You have conflict with family, you have conflict on a job, you have conflict in marriage. I mean, it touches every area of your life. I've learned that if the foundation is not solid, then it's only so far you can go. A lot of God's people go to keep in the back of the desert to build foundation. Bad leadership, seeing good leadership. Being able to see the bad and the good. And not just that, but also being able to feel the difference. What do you do when you see others that's greater than you? How do you react? Be able to step back when you need to step back and let others lead. How to walk by faith and continue to walk in His Word. And continue to walk in His Word. I heard someone say, it doesn't matter if it's, God says day is day. And then they said, you do know that daytime starts in the dark. So if God said it's a new day, it's a new day. It doesn't matter how it looks.
My name is Maurice Jr. We have the Rock organization, ROC, and my wife and I are owners of Rock organization. Jesus walked on earth, He always helped people, so I'm mounting after Him.
So what is conflict resolution to you?
To me, being able to diffuse any state of conflict so someone won't be combative or get into a combative nature that's verbally or physically. Mm-hmm. And it's our job to make sure that we diffuse that. There are different ways that you can do that.
What do you think makes a difference with mature leadership as opposed to leadership? They're not bad, but they're just not mature.
And the difference with that is you're not leading out of emotions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The difference between a good leader and a bad leader, if you're not leading out of emotions. The emotional part of me would have stopped loving people. Mm-hmm. The emotional part of me would have stopped pouring into people. Mm-hmm. The emotional part of me would have just, held animosity and bitterness and malice in my heart towards people. Because I'm leading out of my emotions, so therefore I'm a bad leader. You can't be a leader and lead out of your emotions. Your emotions will be affected, but you have to have self-control and tolerance over your emotions and know the same grace that God gave you, you have to forgive and give the same grace to those individuals and not lead out of your emotions. Who I am today has been birthed out of prayer. And from a leadership perspective, I just don't believe you can lead God's people without having a conversation with God how to lead his people. How I'm going to lead God's people in my flesh, and I'm not having that conversation with him to say, what do I need to do? Moses, and the list goes on. They always had that conversation with God on how to lead his people, to get instructions, downloads, as we talked about, strategy.
Yeah.
And even where I am now, and this new year's upon us, I've really been in the presence of God, and God has really been giving me a strategy for our church. In your gift and being unique, we can try to clone and duplicate anybody, but when you know God has given you something authentic and original, you walk that out. I talk about that in leadership, how I own who I am, every essence of that word.
Yeah.
You know, the passion and the drive that I have for things and subjects, I follow through them, and I don't let nobody talk me out of it. I don't want to water that down.
Yeah.
You know, it's who you are. And you won't really see prosperity, peace, and fulfillment in your life until you really walk out those passions and desires on the inside of you, and you don't let nobody talk you out of that, because that's your happy place. That would bring you joy. That would put a smile on your face. And there are so many people that's not walking in their purpose, not walking in their assignment because it's not trendy.
Yeah.
It's not popular. Everybody's not doing it, so they'll do what everybody is doing. And you see a lot of duplication these days. You see everybody mirroring somebody, and that's why the spirit of competition is out in the hour that we're living in, because nobody's owning their true identity.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's so important in the hour that we're in, where you have a strong social media presence. If you think about people that made an impact in this community, in this world, they own their originality.
Mm-hmm.
They treaded that whole little process out.
Yeah.
You know, they dug new grounds, they developed new wells, and the list goes on.
Yeah.
And that's where the difference came in. But when I think about Saul and David, I think about somebody that God sent to help you, but you're trying to destroy the person that God sent to help you. Of course, you know, Saul, the Bible speaks about the evil spirit came over him, and it was David that God would use to play skillfully, you know, to drive that spirit off of him. Mm-hmm. But as David began to get influence in the reign in the kingdom of Saul, Saul got jealous. One day they came back from the battle against the Philistines, and the Bible speaks about Saul has killed 1,000, but David has killed 10,000. And it said that Saul eyed David from that day forward, meaning jealousy sat in his heart towards David, even though he knew David was his help. Many times Saul tried to kill David, of course, with the javelin, and the list goes on. So David had to end up leaving, you know, and coming back at another season of his life. But then there was a point where David saw Saul in the cave, cut a piece of his skirt off and say, "Look, I could have killed you last night, but you God's anointed." That was David's fear of God. To say, I could kill you for all the stuff that you tried to kill me, but because I fear God and I know that you still God's anointing, even though you're in error.
So what do you think about Elijah and Elijah?
From that perspective, that was more of a mentoring kind of moment. When I think about that story, I think about mentoring and submitting to someone that have something greater than you have, and not being intimidated or jealous or threatened about it, but knowing I'm here to glean from you, I'm here to learn from you. And it goes back to the principles of life. You're going to meet people that's going to inspire you. You're going to meet people that desire that maybe doing something that you desire to do. You're going to meet people that have like spirits, or kindred spirits. That's your tribe, those people that you're connected to get you to a place It was Elijah's job to get Elisha to where he needed to get. And God will send people in your life for the path and the journey that you on to get you to that place. I'll use for me as an example, it took a Bishop Alexander to get me to where I am. She is my Elijah. If it wasn't for her, I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be impacting your life. It's just like that whole little channel effect. You know, you read people that God was sending your path now for his purpose and for his assignment. I had to go to Delaware to get my life saved, that I may come back and be the Moses of my family. I think about people that have a mantle or anointing or oil that they carry that's going to impact my life, and there will be a deposit that they'll make in my life that I'll be able to make in other people's lives. So, you know, of course, we know Elisha received a double portion of what was on Elijah's life, and he was able to do greater exploits than even Elijah was able to do. An elder, apostle, bishop with no titles that are doing just as impactful and great works in the community, you know, than people who are with titles. You know, I know some for sure that's doing a lot of work in our community, from developing our communities, from helping the homeless. The list goes on, and they don't have titles. They just have a heart, and they got an assignment for God, and they're walking that thing out.
So many, we think about like Mother Teresa and the work that she do. How many of you know what Mother Teresa? She did a lot of going overseas and feeding different people. And sometimes we try to divide people by their beliefs. Well, one thing that you always admire about someone is good. You can't deny when people do good. Right? And Miss Robisky, Charmaine Robisky, she always did good. When it came to holidays and how many Christmases and Thanksgivings, how many families was fed off of her cooking. I know I was one of them. And you think about people that serve the homeless, but these are just people in the community. And sometimes you don't know what's going on behind closed doors. And you don't know if a family is struggling or not, but that meal made a difference, may have made a huge difference for a holiday, for a Christmas, or for a Thanksgiving, right? When you think about parks and all those different things in a community, someone was behind closed doors saying, hey, don't forget about this community. Well, she was one of those people. And, you know, we have people that do good, but then you have those that do really good, right? No hidden agendas, no motives, just the kindness of their heart. And God looks at that. So I want to applaud Miss Charmaine Robisky. And we have an Eagles Award for her. And it says Charmaine Robisky, Good Works Eagles Award, Matthew 5 and 16. And Matthew 5 and 16 said that her light shining bright, and it shine bright in this community.
As a mom, my mom fostered my gifts. She saw the things that I was good at, the things that I loved doing, and found ways with her limited means to give me access to those things because she knew that these were things that would allow me to prosper. Transferring that over to just life as a mother and a wife. I've been married now 13 years. We have 4 incredible kids. And you know, I feel like there's seasons for everything, right? I enjoyed my 20s, but I always knew that I wanted to be a mom. But I know that I wanted to have the exposures, and I say play overseas and kind of live a little bit on my own terms independently, because I'd seen my mom be an independent woman. My dad, at the core, is a good person, but had trauma, right? And so she had to overcompensate in a lot of ways to fill that void. And so I wrote a letter to Christ. I always, when I talk about my marriage, I wrote a letter to Christ. I had been in a relationship for a long period of time, for about 7 years with my college sweetheart, a great guy, but he just wasn't the person for me. I'd done some modeling. I played international sports. And so wanting to give that piece of my life to God, right? And so, okay, Lord, I want you to help me find a mate, because even though I thought this was the one, it really wasn't. And I want, my business at that point, I had created an agency for talent and modeling in Chicago, which is where I was living at the time. And I'd come to Baton Rouge, and fast forward, I was like, I want my family dynamic to increase with my mom and my siblings, because I hadn't been in Baton Rouge for so long. So, when you lived all over, you kind of I honestly thought I'd stay away from Louisiana, not for the reasons that I didn't love Louisiana. I just thought, people live in Baton Rouge, it can be very limited. There's a lot of larger cities where you have exposure. God had different plans. And so I came home, I wrote my letter to Christ, I put it in a drawer. I said, I also, Lord, I want, you to know these are the things that I would like to have in a mate. I want him to know you, want a family, want, somebody that, I could talk sports with, but also grow business-wise with, who loves his mom, because I think that's important. You look at the reflection of a man and how they treat their mother ultimately is how they're going to treat you. Yeah. And I met my husband 3 days later. I'm very intentional when it comes to my time. So, I know that, what matters most is seeing my children thrive. And I say the sacrifices of a mom, because my mom didn't have somebody helping her. I realized as a mom, wife, that, it is our role to make sure that, my kids are okay mentally, spiritually, and my husband is completely present. We're very, very similar. We have some differences, don't get me wrong, because in his differences are a lot, his strengths are in some areas my weaknesses, which help us from a balanced perspective. But we are both completely excited to raise 4 kids and to be 13 years in and be happily married. Is marriage perfect? Absolutely not. Yeah. But I don't ever want to be with anybody else, and it's work. Yeah. So for me, being a pillar means that, as it relates to just my family and my position as a wife, that I'm willing to do whatever it takes to make sure that this unit is thriving.
Now, you said you were raised by a single mom.
I was.
Now, it's just one child?
If my mom, it's 2, my brother and I.
Uh-huh. So it's fair to say that mom was your strength.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. And still is.
Yeah.
And still is.
Yeah. You said something interesting. You said that she nurtured those gifts.
Absolutely.
So she was able to see those gifts and nurture them. That's important. That's really, really important. So she was the person that helped you thrive.
They know it's okay to come to me. And so I encourage parents just to know that guess what? It's a lot. Yeah. It is overwhelming. Being a mom, working, being a spouse, it's a high demand. Yeah. But we can't take out whatever we're dealing with in our lives on our kids. Yeah. Man, that's some trauma that you can't break, right? You understand? It becomes, sadly enough, things that children remember, and it can be one moment you blew up and it was about something that happened at work, but you came home and you transferred that energy over to your kids, and you may think it was nothing, but it's something that they will remember forever.
You pride yourself in making sure they're emotionally healthy.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, that's important, because a lot of times, a lot of traumas be from the childhood.
Oh, absolutely.
And it's because they're just emotionally out of whack. Scars can happen externally, but they can be internally too.
Thank God. I've got trauma. My dad was an alcoholic. He got 6 different wives. It sounds crazy, right? It worries you because you think a lot of women choose men like their fathers, right? Mm-hmm. And so I was really intentional and prayerful that I selected a good person for myself, because I always had to say, Brittany, you deserve a good mate. You deserve a good mate. You deserve a good mate. I'm about to cry. But also making sure that my children have what I didn't have as it relates to a father. So,
Yeah, that tells me that your mom did a really good job.
Oh my gosh, she was incredible.
Yeah. Yeah, and then especially because a lot of people, they're so scarred internally, they run away from their parents.
Absolutely.
They run away from their parents. So for her to stay with you, that speaks volumes.
Yeah.
She poured a lot into you.
It's on the line that you're okay with being the person.
Reason I ask that because I'm ex-military, and I know it took a lot. You know, military kind of changed my whole perspective and my view of different things. One, we had to work out every morning. Social skills, being able to lead, and being able to just have that discipline to do things. It kind of altered my personality, but it altered it in a good way. So that's why I was like, okay, sports it's not the same, but
No, but there's still discipline.
Yeah,
I went to wake up for 6 a.m. workouts, twice a day workouts. Like, I didn't have a choice. This was how I was going to, continue to allow my tuition to get paid. I'd have to wake up then at like 4 a.m. and do extra work if I was late. So it taught me discipline. You're right. And I think that, being in the military, for sure, there's a level of discipline that you obtain that allows you to say, okay, if this is something that I want to do, I've got to apply that same discipline.
Do you think that it had an impact on your personality?
I'm disciplined with, okay, we have routines when we wake up in the morning. My kids, now, they're still kids. Because I might be like, son, what is your first thing you're supposed to do? Brush your teeth. He has all that, but he takes the dogs out. That's his responsibility. So he might forget to take the dogs out. Dude, you got to take the dogs out. It is what it is. You got to let the dogs out, fill up the dog bowl. My kids fix breakfast. They pack their lunches. Some people are like, your kids do all of that? Absolutely.
Yeah.
They're blessed with access and financial, stability.
Yeah.
They don't have to... But you're going to know that this doesn't fall from the sky.
Yeah.
We worked for this. We're working. When mom's on Zooms, they know to respect me if I'm doing appointments with clients. But they also have roles that they play in our house. So teaching them discipline now, it's not easy, but it's totally worth it. And the reward is the fruit of us seeing our children thrive, us seeing our marriages prosper.
Yeah.
And knowing that it all takes work.
Yeah.
And you're not alone.
Yeah.
Whatever you think you're going through, somebody else is going through it, or even going through something much more difficult. So I talked about affirmations, and I really wanted to say what I do with my children and my husband and I, in the morning before they go to school, while they're in the car, and he brings them to school every morning. But even my 2-year-old, if I ask my daughter what she is, she says, I'm a leader, a champion, a princess, a child of God, a genius, a winner, and I never give up.
People say that I'm foolish for how I trust you.
Many of you guys don't remember Hurricane Katrina. How many have heard of Hurricane Katrina? Yeah, it was a very devastating storm. And it really tested leadership to its core.
People say that I'm foolish for how I trust you, oh God.
Well, let me tell you something. Of those days of being taught in Louisiana, and through the help of Almighty God, and joining the Army in 1971, and 35 years later in the Army as the 3-star general, God fulfilled my dream to be able to help our people in Louisiana. And I returned here as the 1st Army Commander with 20,000 federal troops, 200 ships, over 250 helicopters to help save our people in Louisiana, and coordinated the effort of 30,000 National Guard troops. That was a dream that came to me while I was picking cotton in Louisiana. And the cotton I picked, I didn't get paid for because it was on my daddy's farm. You have great opportunity, young people. It's not where you start this race and where you end this race. The road on the left is what? Easy. It is tempting. The road on the right to success is hard. It's uphill, and it's muddy. But life's gonna throw you curves. You're gonna get hurricanes. People in your life are gonna die. They're gonna get sick, and they're gonna need your help. This is all in the fact of growing up. Life's gonna throw you curves. Be ready for it. The inspiration you just heard before me, your beliefs, whatever that might be in your faith, will drive you through it. So take stock in your faith. Just my dream of picking that cotton. That one day I would grow up and do something good for our people. And that day came. Have your reading, your writing, and your math down, and you'll do fine. And guess what? I was a C student. The road on the left is what? Smooth and easy. It will draw you in. The road on the right is uphill, it's rocky, it's bumpy, and it's muddy. It's going to be hard. The decisions you make right now, believe it or not, in middle and high school, will determine what happens for the rest of your life. I chose the uphill, bumpy, rocky, muddy road. That's just a challenge. The only thing between you and greatness is the challenge, but I'm one of the proofs that you can do it. Don't let anybody outwork you.
People say that I'm foolish for how I trust you, my God.
My name is Dr. Marquis Phillips. Right now, I've mainly focused on leadership of young African American males. I am the executive director of the Russell Honorary program located at Southern University in New Orleans. And these young men that we recruit from the high school area, they have to have leadership traits. We select these young men. They get a 4-year scholarship to come to Southern University at New Orleans, and we develop them. So giving them life skills, corporate skills.
How long has the program been up and running?
Yeah, we just celebrated our 10-year anniversary. It was founded in June 2012. We have a 89% graduation rate. All the young men in our program necessarily don't require high ACT scores to receive the scholarship. So these young men are C-average students. We call them hidden gems.
Yeah.
And we give them that support to say, anybody can make it, and we pour into you. I know you can do it. So we give them that support, and that's some of the financial support that they receive. But they also have mental support.
So how did it come about where y'all started to do this for the community to help the Black African American men out?
General Honorary and our past president, Southern University system, it was a need. Right now, nationwide, there's only 34% of African American males in college. It wasn't always like that.
Yeah.
We had a lot of young men going to college. Well, around this time, the millennial area, there's not that many young men going.
Yeah.
So we try to find out what we could do to increase those numbers. And some of the barriers we found out that young men don't go to college is financial.
Yeah.
Right? So we had to come up with a financial aspect. The other part about it is mental. Right? Sometimes they don't feel like they belong, or they don't have a safe space when they go to college, because this is not what they're used to.
What do y'all do in the community?
We're called upon for different things. Just past hurricane season, this year and last year, we was out with, at the time, Councilmember Jay Banks. They was handing out food for the people in the community, the blue tarps, sandbags. So we are called out for that as well. During the pandemic front, Goodwill, we was out there helping people carry their food back into their cars and things like that. The church is called upon us as well as, and then we do actually go out and try to read to kids as well. We do that aspect. So it's just about wherever support is needed and that aligns into who we are and what we do, we kind of do it, right? We advocate for it.
From a home perspective, the man is the head. So it's like the man is the person of authority in the home, and that's what a community is built from, a home. So without the man being stable and about the man having those different tools in life, then you build a healthy community.
Yeah.
A healthy family brings a healthy community.
Yeah.
And then a healthy community gives a healthy nation. So that's powerful, and it's very needed and very important. So whether, when you talk about the different dynamics of making sure that the man is stable financially, in his home, mentally, just having those essential tools, that's important.
Yeah.
Healthy home, healthy community, healthy nation.
We don't have that many broken kids turn into young adolescents, turn into teenagers, turn into an adult.
So when you talk about leadership and the aspects of leadership with this program, what is the long-term vision for it?
One, to grow, right, and to help as many young men as we could. The other aspect is to actually put young men in the community to deter that crime. Me holding you accountable for something you did. This is about me helping you correct what you don't see wrong. And the only way we can do that is kind of instill some type of leadership. Boy or girl can still be successful in their own right. Where it's going to take that love from the village.
I was thinking about, there's a story in the Bible about David. Samuel came to anoint the next king. And he was about to anoint his brother, David's brother. And God said, not him. That's not who I chose. And it was David. David didn't look the part, but David was the one that God chose. And I think sometimes we have a stereotype of what a person should look like as opposed to the person that really can get the job done. And, when I think about it, the Bible says that David was not perfect by far. He was not perfect. He made a lot of mistakes, but he was a king. He served the people. And one thing I have learned about leadership is sometimes people throw out or put to side what doesn't look the part, even though they can get the job done. David, they say he made a lot of mistakes with his family. He made mistakes with the people that he was supposed to be leading, but he was able to make it right. And to me, that's some of the qualities I think good leadership is. They're not perfect, they're human beings. They're able to acknowledge their mistakes and make it right in order to make a difference, in order to impact the lives of people. When you were talking, I was thinking about the people that y'all bringing up. Obviously, they're going to make mistakes. You're giving them the tools in order for them to go in the right direction. But they're human beings. They make mistakes. But those mistakes could turn into something so valuable because they're able to teach others, okay, this is a mistake I made. Let me keep you from some heartache and a hard life if you can just think about your actions and go into the right direction. And that's why I say that with men in regards to they're the head of a house. So it starts in the home, healthy emotions. If you have healthy financial situation, if you're able to give them the tools in order to thrive, then you'll have a healthy family. And then if the family is healthy and you're able to give back and serve and do good in the community, then you have a healthy community. And then obviously that impacts a nation. So I think that's like profound, what y'all are doing in regards to leadership. There was a guy named Favor. He was the rapper for the kids, a Christian rapper. And he was also in New Orleans, caught up for the storm. So he had a personal experience that, you know, that was like a heart-to-heart type thing. Like, I mean, that was like a low point in my life. A lot of people. And he came through. So, you know, General Honoré is like that person, very strong personality, but leadership, you know, wisdom is known by its fruit. The leadership speaks for itself, because when people are touched and they're like, that was a hard time and we really needed somebody to get the job done, he came through, and the leadership speaks for itself. So, you know, that's like the second person that said, man, thank you. Thank you for coming through. Thank you for your yes, for helping. And they were all men. And he makes a profound impact on men. Which is the head, which is the foundation, you know, the foundation for a household. So that's important. That is very important.
I believe in my motto was expose kids to success and they will succeed. And I think that's the best thing we could do for our younger generation. Expose them to something they wouldn't normally see or normally do, because they already, you know, what's around them most times are not always positive things. So we have to give them a balance and give them opportunity to see something different. And we have a positive impact on their lives.
That's important. That's good. That's good stuff. That's good for the community. And that's why I said it twice already. He's making a profound impact on men. And I said that the men are the foundation for a family. And that impacts the community, and that impacts ultimately a nation.
How did you pivot? How did you change direction? So I had to make a very tough decision, because as she said, I had to pivot. I had to change direction. I had to come to the realization that just because I'm not getting to what I wanted this way doesn't mean that this is still not for me.
When the storm comes, some people build walls and some people build windmills. You're either going to build a wall and cause it to enclose you, or you can build windmills, which is power. And some people find the power in those moments, and some people don't.
All I did is redirect my focus. So I was completely what you call tunnel vision focused on hitting this goal. So everything, wake up early, work out, eat right, and do everything to hit this.
Those are defining moments. Those are moments that pivot you into your purpose, that pivot you into your destiny. Those are moments that pivot you into a place that you just couldn't imagine. And they just wind up being dark moments turn into bright moments.
When you're 16, 17 years old, who wants to do that? I didn't really want to do that, but you know what? I wanted this goal. And I had to get up and work out.
It's important to understand that when Jesus was elevated, it didn't look like elevation. Nothing about that looked like elevation, but it was elevation.
You can have really whatever you want, but it's got to be clear. Habakkuk 2:2 says, write the vision, make it plain. The vision that I had was to have a successful life where I could be pursuing something that I was passionate about, that I could make a difference in people's lives, that I could live like I wanted to live, that I could be free, time-wise, free financially, do what I wanted to do. But even in it happened in one way, guys, my vision still was not as big as the vision that God has for me. And then another thing came in front of me, another opportunity came in front of me that was really out of my realm of what I even thought was possible. Money cannot determine who you are. But I wanted to be someone who was able to make an impact beyond just saying a prayer.
Someone being beaten, someone being scourged, spit on, and someone putting sword in his side. Nothing about that looked like glory, but it was glory. So promotion doesn't look like promotion. Elevation doesn't look like elevation. And it comes through conflict. It comes through trauma sometimes. And if you're able to overcome it, then you're able to see the gold of it. If you don't and you just kind of shrink up, or you're either going to build a wall or you're going to create power. Jesus knew, because he was in the presence of God, he knew it was his time. And he created power. He walked through it. I mean, he could have easily said no, because we have free will. He could have said no, but he stayed. I'm glad he did. We all benefit from it. So that's power. And that you have to keep in the back of your mind when trials and tribulations come.
I don't need you to just let me see. I need you to bring me some peace. So I'm hollering. I need you to...
I don't need you to just let me be. I need you to bring me some praise. So I'm hollering, oh my God, I need you to come through for me.